Hello everyone and welcome to Hutch's Garage for episode 37 of my 1954 International Harvester Farmall Super MTA tractor restoration. In the previous episode 36, I took the independent power takeoff apart in order to replace what I thought was just a worn reactor band and discovered that the actuator pin on the band was badly bent. This caused the band to be way out of adjustment. This is part 2, where the independent power takeoff is put back together with the replacement reactor bands. Please note that this video footage was taken at an earlier date.
So I'm ready to put the reactor bands back in the PTO drive unit. I've got the adjusting screws ready to, started, ready to go down, and I flushed out the cavity in the power takeoff unit right here. So we're ready to put the first reactor band, which will be the drive band that makes the unit drive. Okay, so I've got it oriented like this. This pin goes down and the detent hole or areas are right here. I've got it in brake mode so it'll have the least amount of tension on it. So I bring this up and get a screwdriver to make sure I guide that in, and it's in. So what I want to do now is tighten down the screws. You'll see it come down. So I don't want to go too far as yet. Make sure it's as flush as I can get it with this drum, reactor drum. Okay, now I'm ready to pull the lever back into drive mode so we can get the other band in. So, okay. Make sure that's in there. I can see it's in this little detent right there. Alright. Now the brake drum is next to go on. Line the shaft up. Whoop. Okay, that's all the way in there. Grab the band for the brake. Make sure I orient it the correct way. Pull that out of the way. Put that down there. Run this adjusting pin down. Now I'm doing it with a screwdriver. Let's go back to brake mode just to see. Okay, I did squeeze it up some. Alright, there you can see that adjusting pin. There's the pin there. So we're going to get the rear covers ready to go on with gaskets and install a bearing in this rear cover. I'm going to put the original bearing back in. That keeps it from going all the way that way and the bolt or the nut at the end is what keeps it from coming back out. So we'll just tap this in. I think it's got a little bit more to go. It feels like it's home. Yep. So now we're ready to put the gasket on and install it. So I'm installing the rear plate. Got the gasket on. Line up the bearing. I'll put a couple of these longer bolts, get them started. Now what lines this up, there's a lip in here that goes inside of a machine surface like this. Then there's 6 smaller bolts that go along the outside. Okay, they're just slightly snug. And now I'll start the 3/8 inch bolts. Anyway, so what I'll do is tighten all these up, and that will be on. The next thing we'll do is put the locking plate on. Make sure this bearing's all the way down, which it looks like it slipped out a little bit when I put this on. So we'll push that in, put the locking plate on, and then we'll put the net on. I'll show that. Alright, we've got the bearing all the way in. I took the net and went ahead and rolled it in, and now we need to put on the fold over lock washer. And this tab goes where the keyway is, which keeps it from turning. And this nut, I do not have the special wrench, so we're going to use my big adjustable wrench, see if we can get it on there. Doesn't need to be terribly tight. Its function is to retain that bearing. As you can see, I don't have much, but it's on there snug. So what we'll do, and it's a little bit tighter than it originally was. So I'm going to pull this back to where I can knock a tab down. Let's do that tab there. Well, let's find another one. That's going to be hard to do. That's no good. Okay, there's the tab I'm going to bend down. And I was able to take the chisel and against this, prying against this, and bend this down a little bit. So I'm going to take this punch, lay it over like this, because I can't get within it, you know, to punch. I'll just try to make it go down this way. Just might be able to get it now. Alright, so I got it bent over. And the shaft does turn like that. The adjustment needs to be made when I got an engine or something to keep the power takeoff from turning the shaft inside the transmission and everything. So the adjustment is going to be done later on this, but the brake is a little bit overly tight, and probably the PTO reactor band is a little bit loose. So the next thing we're going to do is put the gasket on this piece right here. This piece, this goes up and holds this race back against here also. So that keeps this shaft from moving back and forth like that. And that keeps the bearing on the shaft right there. So I'll do that next. Well, we're now ready to put the final piece on, which is the seal plate and the bearing retainer. What I'm going to do now is put a little bit of Ultra Slick, hopefully on this bearing, and rotate it. Make sure it has initial oil. Alright, that should be enough. Wipe off some drips. So I've greased the seal, put grease around it, and I've got my sealant material on there. This is the Indian head gasket sealer, and this part here goes down to drain oil back into the cavity here. So we'll slip this on, and the way I'll remember to do it, the international will be on the bottom, the international symbol right there. So let's slip it over. Alright, looks like we're lined up. That went easy like it's supposed to. Now all we gotta do is tighten this up. Alright, they're all evenly tightened. So that's it. The only final thing we need to do is fill it with oil, which I'll do later, and then make the clutch adjustments up here on these adjusting screws. I'm not going to do that now because really you need resistance on the PTO side to check it. So we'll go through that procedure sometime later.
That's all the time we have for in this episode. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Please continue to join me for the next episode as I restore and rebuild this 1954 International Harvester Farmall Super MTA tractor.